Hello and welcome to this other video where we would be continuing what we are exploring in the Active Directory users and computer snapping. And in this video, what we want to do is to understand how to manage user properties, which we have already been doing, but I just want to highlight some of the key things that you might need to know. So for instance, someone sent into a query that they want to change their username. For instance, John Forgo wants their name changed, their display name or their username changed to something else. And to do that, you normally just find a user and you right click and go to properties. So that's how you manage your properties. And the display name is John Forgo. The email address is this. And normally you'd go to the account tab to change the username. So the username is usually the user logon name. And we have two types, but normally you keep them identical. So this is what they use to log on onto their devices. And if you're in a hybrid environment where you need to sign in into some other services that have been configured to be running on your server, for instance, accessing enterprise level network, Wi-Fi, printing services that need authentication, probably you need a username. And maybe they don't like the username that you had given them, John.Fergal, or maybe they want jFergal. So they could tell you, okay, I don't want to use John.Fergal. I want to just use maybe jFergal. But then I want to keep my email address as John.Fergal. So something like that, that's when you come in and you manage the username change here and you save, and after some syncs, that would be synced across the organization and the various systems. So that's how you modify properties. And modifying properties of a user account or an object basically means going to find the account or the object and then going to its properties and changing whatever is requested within, the snappings. So for instance, it could be he has changed organization, he isn't the marketing manager anymore, maybe he has gotten to a different department, so he wants the job title to be changed, and this is how you get to do it. One other thing that we need to explore when it comes to managing user properties is the attribute editor. The attribute editor is a snap-in within the properties of an object, specifically user object, that can only be found if you have the advanced features turned on. So when I cancel this and I turn off advanced features, if I go to John's account and I right click and I go to properties, you see I don't have the attribute editor. Now, I'll close this and we'll go back to view advanced features and we'll find Fergal. You realize I have so many ways of searching. You could type in just the first two letters or first two of the first name and first two of the last name. You'll still find the user. So when I go to properties, you'd realize that using the find approach, I don't have the attribute editor, even though I have the advanced find turned on. So that means managing properties on user accounts or user objects has its own dynamic way of giving you access to the various functionalities you need to modify based on how you find the object. So maybe you know this as a skill set, but you don't know precisely where the user object is. You don't know what OU the user is. So you can use the find and go to object and it will tell you where the location is. So it means we need to manually find this path, go there, and then find its attribute editor. So with this information, I know where to go now. I'll go to users and go to John Forgo and go to properties. And now I have the attribute editor. So attribute editor gives all the various information that is related to this specific object, which is John Fergal. So we have various information in here that you can find out. So what about the object? Like, does the account expire? Never, because it's actually set to be never. So account and never expires, set to be never here. So this is all the information. How many times they had typed in their password wrong? You can find that here. If they try to log in incorrectly, you find that information here. So the attribute editor is an advanced feature of finding all the metadata about an object. Now, the key thing about this object is whenever a user needs to know we have other information here, like last log off, last log on, all this information. What I'm actually looking for here is the proxy. So proxy address, and where to find it? Yeah. So proxy address is when the user wants to have another email or another email alias. So they want to be john.fergal at maybe @local, but they also want to be jfergal at @local. So like these two aliases, they want to be contacted through those two aliases. So they want both. So whichever one any user types in to send information to, like through an email or whatever, they want to be able to still receive them. And this is where you normally add those proxy addresses. And so you have to know how to configure that, but it's beyond the scope of this course. Just to show you how to get around managing some attributes of an object ID, for instance, a proxy address. But the usefulness of the attribute editor is it has tons and tons of information about an object ID. For instance, when last was it changed, when was this created, and things about bad password counts and stuff like that. That's what we need to just explore about modifying properties of a user account, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.